Zechariah about the 5th century.
Sorry about that. Keep going.
Zechariah about the 5th century BCE. Said the following line, Zechariah 9:14, which we all know because at the end of the Aleinu, because the Aleinu repeats the thesis of the Shema. There it says, Vaya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu yi Adonai echad ushmo echad. Now, this says that the Shema is future predicted. So we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, the Midrash says, B'olam hazeh. Hashem echad, the Midrash in Sifrei Devarim says, Olam haba. So it resolves the apparent contradiction between saying the Lord is our God and the Lord is one by dividing two temporal periods. So the Lord is our God is present reality, Olam hazeh. Hashem echad is future reality when all humanity will accept God as one. So when you're saying the Shema, you're really praying for the universal acceptance of the singularity of God. Based upon the verse in Zechariah 9:14, there it says, Vaya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz, and God will be king over all the earth. When? Vayom hahu, not now, then. Vayom hahu, Yi Adonai echad ushmo echad. On that day in the future, God will be one. So see the same words, Hashem echad, Hashem echad. In the Shema, therefore, is a future expectation spelled out by Zechariah. And when we say the Shema, we accept God as our God, while aspiring to believe that one day God will be accepted by all. And when God is accepted by all, then we say Adonai echad, ushmo echad. Now, what's the phrase ushmo echad? His name. You mean his name is Mr. O-N-E? Hello, my name is Ruvain. Glad you meet Mr. O-N-E. Or does it mean one for all? Meaning on that day, the one God will be accepted as one for all. So when God is one for all, everybody accepting divine authority, then we say what? Ushmo echad. Not meaning that his proper name is echad, but that God is one for all. So this understands, according to the Midrash, the Shema as an expression of acceptance of divine authority for those who say it, an expectation of the reception of divine authority by all humanity in the future, by Yom Hahu. Now, to make that point clear, the rabbis ended the verse, V'baruch Shem Kavod Machuto Le'olam Va'ed. When you say this verse, you have to realize the biblical verse behind it, which is the next line from Psalm 72:19. There it says, Baruch Shem Kvodo Le'olam. So what Chazal did is they took a well-known verse in Psalm 72:19. In fact, the verse is part of Psukei de Zimra at the end, and took the word Kvodo and expanded it to Kavod Malchuto. Because according to Chazal, when you say the Shema, it's an act of Kabbalat Ol Malchut Shamayim. One is accepting God's authority. Ol is authority. So one is accepting God's authority as sovereign. How do you make that point? Chazal took a well-known verse, Baruch Shem Kavodo, and then introduced a new element, Kavod Malchuto. Whenever you take a well-known piece of literature and you change it a little, you bring attention to the change. So the focus now is on the new word. What's the new word? Malchuto. Because when you say the Shema, you're accepting all Malchut Shamayim by the word Malchuto. So now we have the two verses of the Shema understood in light of two other biblical verses. One is the Shema understood in terms of Zechariah 9:14, and the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto understood in light of Psalm 72:19. This underscores to what degree the Shema's intelligibility is informed by the Bible. So when you read a liturgy without knowing the biblical background, you frequently miss the point. and sometimes even misunderstand it. So one should always use the Siddur in one hand and have a Tanakh in the other hand. And of course, nowadays with something like Sefaria, you can look up any word and see where it appears in Tanakh and know the background verse. It's the convergence of the two which makes sense of the material. So meaning is not in the text. Meaning takes place between the text and the human mind. The human mind brings to bear other material, for example, the two biblical verses. When you bring that to bear, suddenly the text becomes clear. So as I say again, meaning is not in the text, and meaning is not in the human mind. Meaning is the convergence between the human mind and the text. Okay, now we move on to V'hafta. V'hafta, how is it constructed? So first we have to look at any elements in common. So you'll notice that almost every single word, over half of the words in the V'hafta, end with a cha. V'hafta Hashem Elokecha, v'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol modecha. Then line 1a, the last word is levavecha, and 2a, shinamtem levanecha, v'dibarta bam b'shifta b'veitecha, v'leftecha v'derech, shabecha v'kumecha, ukshartam liot al yadecha, v'yilot atova b'nei necha, uchtaftam amuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. So whenever one says it, the cha sound is repetitive over and over again, and the sound is what creates cohesion. It's not only the cohesion of meaning, there's a cohesion of resonance. And when the two converge together, it's quite powerful. Secondly is the letter bet. You'll see over and over, it appears over and over again. V'chol levavcha, 3 times. V'chol nafshecha, v'chol modecha, and so on throughout. So the sounds cha and the bet are the cohesive sounds. The next element of strength of cohesion is the powerful verbs, which all end with v'shinantam, v'dibarta bam, v'kshartam, uchtaftam. So all the verbs are not only imperatives, but most of them end with so tam. So we have convergence of sound and sense, therefore creating a cohesive paragraph, not only from the point of view of the words semantically, but also from the point of view of sounds phonologically. And the convergence of the semantic and the sonic create its impression. So now with that in mind, let's look at the actual meaning. It says, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, the very beginning. The first thing you would note is that it's in the singular, while the Shema is in the plural. The Shema says, our God, right? Eloheinu, which is plural, our. Now, it should have said, V'ahavta Hashem Elokechem, yours in the plural. Here, Elokecha is the your in the singular. So apparently the affirmation of God can be done by the community, but the love of God can only be done by the individual. It's a remarkable combination of a commentary and a statement of faith, plus the individual response, which is love. Now let's see what the nature of that love is. It says 3 things: V'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol modecha. Each line begins with the exact same word: v'chol, v'chol, v'chol. Each word ends with the same sound: cha, cha, cha. Now the question is, that is the cohesive elements. What is the individual meaning of each line? And how do the individual meanings converge to create a thesis? So we begin with the first. V'chol levavcha. Now what is leiv in biblical Hebrew? So leiv in biblical Hebrew can both be the seat of intelligence and the seat of feeling. So we have the phrase leiv ladat. The leiv ladat, knows. Solomon, when he prays to God, asked for a leiv mevin, an understanding heart. On the other hand, the word leiv is also the seat of passion. So now we have a similar word which covers a range of meanings from feeling to thinking, referring to both the mind and the heart. So the leiv is a seat of intelligence and the seat of passion. And therefore the word leiv, we translate the word heart, But the problem with that is we locate the heart in one place. Here, the lave combines what we call mind and heart. So the word has a double meaning. Let's keep that in mind because the other term also has a double meaning. What is that? B'chol nafshecha. Now, nefesh, frequently in the Bible, means a body. In Vayikra, when a body dies and it defiles, it's nefesh mittameh. So the nefesh is the body. But the nefesh can also mean the soul. So the word has also a double meaning, from body to soul, from the physical to the spiritual. B'chol nafshecha can also mean desire. It has several meanings. In any case, the range of meanings, at least from the physical to the spiritual. Then what does b'chol modecha mean? So there's a great debate on the meaning of b'chol modecha. The Septuagint, the Greek translation, translates it as dunamis, which means power. So they take b'chol modecha as if it were in Hebrew, b'chol kochacha. Chazal frequently take modecha to mean all your possessions, b'chol nichasecha, or b'chol mamoncha. In fact, there is one midrash in Sifrei Zuta which says b'chol kochacha uv'chol honcha, with all your strength and with all your possessions. So which means whatever the case is, modecha is a range of meaning. Now the question is there modecha an interpretation or a translation? Because Ibn Ezra, in commenting on b'chol modecha, says it means nothing more than ma'od, a lot, very much, extremely, exceedingly. The Ramban, Nachmanides, accepts Ibn Ezra's interpretation and probably is the original meaning. It means with everything you got. I guess you would translate with your utmost, modecha, or with all your veriness. Now what happened was people disagreed on what that means. If I say you should love the Lord your God and give it your all, what is your all? So the Septuagint says, give it your all is b'chol kochacha, with all the powers you have, emotional powers, intellectual powers, right? Physical powers, all you got. Put your whole being in. The other interpretation says to give it your all means to put all your possessions dedicated to it. Put your money where your mouth is. So if you love somebody, but are not willing to pay for it or support it or financially get involved, then you have reservations. If you have reservations, you're not giving your all. So now let's look at all three interpretations and see which one makes most sense of the paragraph. We say b'chol avavcha has two meanings, at least, from intelligence to feeling. B'chol nafshecha is at least two meanings, from body to soul. B'chol modecha has at least two interpretations, from physical strength, or all your physical powers, and all your financial powers, all your physical resources, and all your financial resources. Now, the best way to interpret the paragraph to make a sense is to argue that the rest of the paragraph explicates the three phrases, b'chol avavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol modecha. Many people have gone this way, but they normally stop after line 1a. 1a, at the very end, says al levavecha. Since it says al levavecha, what do we assume? It relates back to number 1, which says what? B'chol levavcha. So it's taken that 1a is an explication of b'chol levavcha. If one loves God, b'chol levavo, then minimally he would do 1a. He would take these words, which I command you this day, and it should be what? On your heart. Or in an English idiom, you would take it to heart. If you don't take it to heart, that is the beginning of love, that the words are taken seriously. Now, what it means, hayu hadavarim ayo, what are these words? Which words? Some people say it means nothing more than the opening verse of the Shema. Some people say it means the whole paragraph of the Shema. And the phrase Hadavarim Ha'ela also refers to the previous chapter in Deuteronomy, which is Aseret HaDibrot, the Decalogue. So the most expansive meaning takes these words to refer to the Decalogue. The next is, it refers to the whole Shema. The next is, it refers to the opening line. It's not quite clear. Okay? But let's see which one makes sense. Vayu hadavarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavcha, and I'm commanding you not then, but today, hayom, should be where? Al levavecha. Take him to heart. Okay? That expounds clearly line 1. But how does line 2 reflect 2a and so on? B'chol nafshecha means with all your nefesh. What is nefesh? We said nefesh can mean from body to soul. Well, that means you. Your nefesh is your whole self. Now, if your nefesh is your whole self, then what does the word b'chol add? So in standard Talmudic terminology, we add the word b'chol, we say b'chol ba-rabot. Rabot means it comes to include that which one would not think of inclusion. So the word b'chol has to add the word to nafshecha. Now, if nafshecha is body, and nafshecha is your soul, then I'm talking about a range from the physical to the spiritual. Well, that is exhaustive. That takes up your whole self. What more is there to add? So what can be b'chol? So one suggestion is, b'chol is you, but more than you. Now, who incorporates your body and your soul, but is not identical to you? Which entity has more of your body and your soul, but not equivalent to you? That means what? Your children. So therefore, 2a says, how do you implement b'chol? See, nafshecha is you. B'chol has to add something to nafshecha, and has to include both meanings of nefesh, body and soul. So who is more the spitting image of you than anybody else in the whole wide world? Your children. So now to love God, b'chol nafshecha, would mean to incorporate your children. The assumption is, if you love something, you want your children to share it. If you love piano or music, you want your children to share it. If you love skiing, you teach your children. And if you love Torah, you teach it to your children. So the next line too says, Vishinantam livanecha. Now the word Vishinantam is a difficult word. There is no agreement on what the etymology or what it means. What is obvious, though, is that it is a difficult word. We call that, in literary analysis, defamiliarization. We sometimes use, in poetry, a difficult word to slow the reader down, to focus their attention. Think, oh, I don't know that word clearly. I better think about that. What does it mean? Vishinantam. Then the next letter is a lamed. That's strange, because after words of pedagogy, we normally have an et. For example, in the second paragraph, it says, V'limartem et b'neichem. Teaching takes the accusative et. It does not take the dative lamed. So I asked myself, boy, those are two difficult words. Vishinan tam, well, tam, the word tam means them. So the word them goes back to 1a. That's a devarim ha'ela. Okay. So vishinam tam, a devarim ha'ela. What do I do it? Le vanecha. It doesn't say et vanecha. It says le vanecha. Now, when you say le vanecha, the word could mean for the benefit of. That is, teach them for your children, for their benefit. Vishinantam le vanecha. Now the question is, what do you do with the next line? So here there's a great debate between the cantillation, the Tamei Negina, and the Ibn Ezra. Where to put the et nachta? The et nachta is like a comma in the middle of a sentence. It's a break. So the et nachta puts it after v'dibarta bam. Okay? And Ibn Ezra puts it the way I've done it here. Why? Because Ibn Ezra says there's no way that you can teach your children while you're awake in every other places because they're not around. In other words, the 2a, the next line, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha v'derech, v'shebecha v'komecha, means in every situation, whether you're at home or away. That's everything. Whether you're lying down or rising up. In other words, we have every posture, every location. Well, your children are always around. So how can it be possibly fulfilled? So he says, v'shinamtem levanecha, listen closely. How do you teach your children? By them seeing that you talk about them all the time. If you really love something, you can't stop talking about it. And what does that mean? Wherever you are, in any posture. So you will teach your children, not means you sit them down and open a book and start teaching them. You teach your children by exemplifying it. When you exemplify it, they say you love it. Oh, my mother is always talking about Divrei Torah, wherever she is, in any situation, whether she's at home, whether she's away, whether she's up, whether she's down. So this way, V'shinamtem levanecha becomes an expression of love. You're so engrossed in talking about Divrei Torah, you can't talk about anything else. And your children see it. What's the assumption? The assumption is that the children will appropriate the loves of their parents. You grow into your love. If your father or mother loved violin or piano, you can learn to love it. Or if they love anything specifically, you love it frequently by emulation and admiration. The more you admire your parents, the more you will acquire their loves. If they're a positive example, then you'll learn to love what they love, especially if you stop rebelling, let's say after the age of 42, which adds up to bum here. V'dibarta bum, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha v'derech, v'shebecha v'komecha. Now, if this analysis is correct, then 1a is explicating b'chol levavcha. 2a is now explicating b'chol nafshecha. So now we're left with a third. And the third goes like this. Ukshartam li'ot al yadecha, v'ayu l'tatafot bein einecha. Now, ukshartam is, again, you bind it, and it's an oat. Now, an oat is a sign to whom? So apparently, whenever people love each other, in almost every culture, they wear each other's garments or each other's ornaments. When people are in love, apparently they like to publicize it. They want other people to know it, and also impresses upon them their love. So what do you do here? You put a sign on your hand, as almost every culture does, has bracelets or earrings or rings. Bein einecha. So first is on the arm, then it's between the eyes. Why significantly these two? So according to the rabbinic interpretation, ot al yadecha, when you bind it on your arm, they say it should be on the upper part of your arm. The expression for this is gova shebayad. Now, if it's on the upper part of your arm, we're talking about the tefillin, then it's keneged halev. It's across from the heart. So when you put it on the upper part of your arm, and the tefillin is turned inward, then the tefillin is touching, as it were, your heart while you're saying this. Vayulat bein einecha was originally probably hanging from your head. So according to Philo, the reason it's hanging between your eyes is you should constantly see it. Now, if you constantly see something, you'll be mindful of it. But according to Chazal, it's not between your eyes, it's on the upper part of your head. So just like the tefillin is gova shebayad, on the upper part of the arm, the tefillin bein einecha is bagova shebarosh, on the top of the head, and normally placed on the soft spot of the baby. Now, why is this significant? Because it means, according to Philo, one of the early interpretations of tefillin was primarily a visual experience. That is, if you see it, you'll be mindful of it. Out of sight, out of mind. But according to Chazal, it reflects an intellectual reality, not a visual reality. Nobody sees their own tefillin. It's on the top of the head. Therefore, it incorporates the mind. So now, if the tefillin is on the arm, that is your physical powers. If it's turned toward the heart, that's your emotional powers. If it's on top of the head, that's your intellectual powers. So now we have an agency combining the emotional, the physical, and the intellectual. So it turns out to be exhaustive. What powers you have beyond the emotional, beyond the physical, and beyond the intellectual? Put all three together, and what do you got? All your powers. So therefore, b'chol modecha, those who interpret b'chol modecha to mean b'chol kochacha, with all your power, with all your energy, and with all your strength, say, well, that makes sense. Therefore, tefillin incorporates what? On the brain, intellectual, on the arm, the physical, turn toward the heart, the emotional. Therefore, it corresponds to one interpretation of b'chol modecha, which with all your being. By being, I mean emotional, physical, intellectual. Now we come to the last line. The last line, uchtaftam amuzazot beitecha uvisharecha. You will write them. You'll put them on the doorposts. Mezuzot is a doorpost. Now, in modern Hebrew, mezuzah means what you put on the doorpost. But in those days, it was the actual doorpost. So, is uchtaftam, you inscribe them on mezuzot beitecha, on the doorpost of your home, uvisharecha. Now, how did this get in here? Beitecha. Well, if I ask you, what is your quintessential possession? What is that possession that you care about more than any other possession? Which of your possessions identifies who you are? Which possession, were you to lose it, would cause the most emotional distress? And the answer to that is what? Your home. If any possession is identified with you, it's your home. It reflects who you are and reflects what you most care about. So if b'chol modecha means b'chol nechasecha, or as most people say, b'chol mamoncha, with all your economic realities, with all your financial resources, then what is your quintessential financial resource? What is that financial resource which best reflects who you are? That is what? Beitecha, your home. So therefore, just like we put these words on the body, incorporating intellectual, physical, and emotional, so we put these words on our home and dedicate our home, because the home reflects mamoncha. So now we have two interpretations, and apparently the Shema incorporates both, believing that b'chol modecha means give it your all. What does it mean to give it your all? Well, that could mean with all your financial resources, or it could mean with all your physical resources. Financial here is symbolized by the home. Physical is symbolized by the mind, the heart, and the arm, incorporating intellectual, emotional, and physical powers. Thus, both interpretations are incorporated here because b'chol modecha means give it your all. Now, give it your all can be understood with all who you are, or give it your all can be understood as all you possess. Now, this interpretation allows it to be an integrated literary paragraph. And because of that, after the word number 3, b'chol modecha, we put a colon. Now, putting a colon means the opening line, v'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol modecha, is the head verse. What follows is an explication. So by putting a colon there, you're saying it's the introductory verse. The introductory verse has 3 parts, and the rest of the paragraph is going to explicate each part. So b'chol levavcha takes the range of meanings of the word leiv or levav in the Bible, from the emotional to the intellectual. B'chol nafshecha takes the range of meaning from the physical to the spiritual. B'chol modecha takes the range of meaning from all your physical resources to all your financial resources. And therefore we have a love of God which consumes the total human being. That is, emotionally, intellectually, body and soul, but even more than body and soul. And what is more than body and soul? That includes your children. And b'chol modecha means with all, or give it your all, with all financial and physical being. Now, what's remarkable about this is, what is the master image? We're talking about the love of God. So what kind of love is it? Well, there's love of parents for children, the love of children for parents. But none of these have the intensity of romantic love. Moreover, it is romantic love which you're totally engrossed in. A person may love their parents, but they don't talk about their parents all the time. Parents may love their children, but don't talk about their children all the time. Only grandparents do that. But when one is romantically involved, one cannot stop talking about the other. It's remarkable. And if you get put on the telephone, they go for 3 to 4 hours, not realizing how long it took. In other words, romanticism involves an emotional and intellectual involvement that one is so mindful of it, one is frequently unmindful of anything else. Now, it's only romantic love in which people wear symbols of each other. Not only that, romantic love, if you write a person you're in love with poetry, they put the poetry, post it on the door, and they read it all the time. A romantic letter can be read 15 times, 20 times. People never stop loving reading romantic letters. Not true of letters you get from someone else you may love. It's a different type of love. So if you look at the elements here, the master metaphor is romantic love. You give it your all. You are totally engrossed in it. You wear symbols and you dedicate your domicile, your living proceeding, and your body, and you want everybody to know it. So therefore, it's on the outside. The mezuzah is not on the inside. The tefillin is worn outside the body. Clearly, wearing these makes everybody aware, because people romantically love, for some reason, want the whole wide world to know it. So the master image and the image of love here is not filial love, fraternal love, sorrow love. It's romantic love. That's the intensity. That's the master image. And that's where the image is and the content is drawn from. Okay, so much of what I just said is said in the middle paragraph of the page, which says that section 1, read with me, is an integrated literary unit composed of 7 commandments in 5 verses, all ending in the second person singular. Modecha, levavcha, kukumecha, einecha, sharecha. And phonological cohesion is maximized by the rhyming correspondence of 4 of the commandments dealing with hadavarim eila, which are specifically v'shinantam, v'dibarta ukshartam, uktaftam. And the topic sentence is a threefold demand to love God, followed by a threefold explication spelling out their implementation. So here's the correlation. The correlations of verse 5 with verses 6 and 9 can be charted as follows. Verse 5 is v'ahavta b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol modecha. So it says, love with all your levav is in the verse, and these words shall be on levav, b'chol levavcha, al levavecha. Then, love with all your nefesh. Now, the nefesh has 2 things, because you can refer, one is inculcate them to your children by exemplifying them, and that's taken b'chol, with all your nefesh, which means more than you. Who is like you and more than you? Your children. Or nefesh can refer to the body. Therefore, you bind the tefillin on the 3 major aspects of the body, which are used in love. They are arm, heart, and forehead, brain, emotional and physical. Then love with your old ma'od also has 2. Ma'od can mean with all your financial resources or with all your physical resources. If it's all your physical resources, then it's on your hand, on your heart, and your head. If it's all your financial resources, then your quintessential financial resource is number 9, inscribed on the doorposts of your house and your gates. In the meantime, one publicizes one's love to all. So romantic love is the type of love that people don't want to hide it. They want the people to know of their love for each other. Therefore, it's romantic love, which is the master image here. Okay? That concludes our analysis of the paragraph of the Shema. How it holds together? Well, each word is significant here. And how the opening line, B'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha modecha, is the opening line followed by a colon. And the next three elements explicate each one: Leiv, Nefesh, and Ma'od. Okay, we now want to open for questions and comments or reflections.
Yes, please, friends, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. You can also use the raise hand function. If you go to the reactions tab at the bottom of your Zoom, you can click on it and raise your hand. A lot of good stuff we just got. So also, if there's something that you want to reflect on to remember it, share that as well. Yes, Evelyn.
Hi, and thank you so much, Rabbi and Eliana, for this sacred space. My question is, did you mention, Rabbi, that there was a machloket or a situation where to put the etnachta, because it's on Bam? Is there another place where, I don't know who you quoted, that thought, was there another place?
Okay, go back. Please show the chart again.
Thank you.
Okay, so V'shinamtem levanecha. So, otherwise, the nachta is v'dibarta bam. So it means they took those two words v'dibarta bam should have been in the previous line. Ibn Ezra says they can't do it that way because that means that your children have to be around at every place where you are. And since they're not around, it could not mean that. But if you do it the way I've done it, which is following Ibn Ezra, v'shinamtem levanecha, number one. Now, how do you do that? How do you shinamtem levanecha? How do you inculcate them into your children? Into levanecha. You inculcate them into your children by speaking about them all the time. It doesn't mean they see you all the time, but they know that you're doing it all the time. And the assumption is that when they see you expressing love at all times, they will acquire that love. So v'shinamtem levanecha is not saying I'm giving you a certain amount of information. It means in teaching and speaking about them, I'm representing and exemplifying my love. And I will get you to love what I love, because whatever I love, I want my children to love.
Thank you. So in other words, it will be levanecha, where the Ibn Ezra said that there should be the nachta.
Right. You switch it one word over.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? And if you're like, wow, that was a lot of information to take in and process, and I'm going to need to turn that over in my mind, I would like to remind and welcome everybody to come to our Thursday sessions, which are going to be for just that, going even slower and exploring what this means to us. But for now, I'd invite you to take, even if you only have a minute or so, to write down some of the things that you're thinking of, some of the things you want to make sure that you remember and take with you. Because I think what's great about learning liturgy is that every time we come to the Shema in our prayer books, in our Sidurim, maybe one of the things that we talked about today will blossom or pop up and give us a different way to think about it. Not that we have to hold it all in our minds all the time, because I loved, Rabbi, the idea of having a Siddur in one hand and a Tanakh in the other, but that's so not how most of our Jewish congregations or communities work. You know, we talked about services, they would need to be either very focused, I would only be able to look at one thing at a time, or hours and hours and hours in length. So even just a little bit of these kind of drops of wisdom, I think, can be helpful.
Now, let me ask you a question, okay, which is, what is the thing which most surprised you that you heard today?
That's a good question.
What is the most surprising thing you heard today? Anyone have a comment on that? Does anyone here have the capacity for surprise? Some people have lost the capacity for wonder, normally after they no longer are milking. Anything you find surprising? Yes, Ellen.
Oh, can't hear you, Ellen.
Ellen, I think you're immutable.
Oh, no, I may be unsinkable, but not immutable. What I need the most time to digest, the newest to me, is being able to put monetary, physical resources, your home, etc., that being part of, as much a part of ma'od as I always thought it, of give it your all in the go team sense, but not the monetary or physical resources. And that really expands my understanding. I appreciate that.
Wonder, anything else? Something surprising?
Ariella is raising her hand.
Well, I'm in the process of taking a Hebrew prayer book class. So what you've done is you've brought all of my Digduk study to life with like all of the what it means for it, for the tense changes, for you're bringing it from something from my brain to something more physical, like, oh, that's what that meant when I studied that weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Anything else? Anything else for the capacity for surprise or wonder? That's what happened if you stop eating Wonder Bread. You can see. Evelyn Goldfink, what do you say?
I think you opened a Pandora box in my head with this notion of romantic love, just going anywhere from Sinai till where was this written in critical Bible studies, because the idea of romantic love and then, mysticism and the Kabbalah Shabbat, it's a whole thing in my head now, wondering who's, like, it seems very human to me that the Tanakh, the Torah, should imply romantic love. So it opens a lot of questions.
So you're romantic at heart.
I'd say so.
Okay, anybody else? Always interesting when you give a class to ask what element of surprise that people never thought of before and suddenly was alerted to and found it helpful.
Yeah, Damien.
I find it fascinating and actually love the fact that the focus is on us and our love and not on the object of our love. That's left very undefined and open, at least in this paragraph.
Where the focus is upon the love of God, not the God's love of us, which is of course focus on other prayers. Yeah. And therefore the human response is what counts here. Yeah. Okay, good. Anything last comment? Otherwise you have to forever hold your peace, which I one time met a Jew who did that. He's not around anymore though.
No. I'll say that I really found it meaningful looking at V'shivtecha b'veitecha, that whole line, as walk the walk, as live it. And if you live it and it's a natural part of your life, then your kids will pick up on it just from being around you. And I think as someone who works in Jewish education, specifically in, part-time Jewish education, that can be a difficult thing when people ask, what can we do so that our kids will love Judaism? The answer really just is like, be Jewish when nobody's looking, right? Like, do it, be it, whatever that means to you. Like Rabbi Shai Held says, you want your kid to catch you reading a Jewish book for fun, just that you're reading, not for any purpose, but to see that it matters to you. And then there's more of a chance that it'll matter to them. And that can look totally different for everybody, which I love.
Okay, so it's not enough to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. Okay, thank you very much. Hope we'll see you next session. Wish you all well. Shalom,
Thank you.
shalom.
Shalom. Thanks, Rabbi Kimelman. I know he has to hop off, but all y'all are welcome. Y'all are welcome to stay in the room if you
Yeah, I have to leave. I
need.
have to have an appointment right now, but pleasure to meet all of you. Hope to see you guys again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. Amazing. Thank you all so much for being here. Next week at this time, we're going to be exploring the second paragraph of the Shema. But I want to say just a couple words about the sessions that are on Thursday evening, because they're going to be a lot different. I mean, the fact that Rabbi Kimelman can do all of that without notes just kind of shows how deeply entrenched he has been in this work for so long, and how grateful I am. And I hope we all are for being a part of it. The Thursday evening sessions are really going to be for us to take these words and, as I like to think about it, attempt to alchemize liturgy into prayer through us. So tomorrow night, all we're going to be focused on is the line of the Shema, just those 6 words. We're going to spend an hour and a half on them. And I bet when we're done, you will think, that wasn't enough time, because that always happens. We're going to explore it through partnered study with particular guiding questions, looking at different translations. What might it be to write our own translations? We're going to sing through it using melodies of the Shema that you might know, and I think some that you don't know. And our friend Chava Morel will hopefully be on to share one of hers. That will lead us into a little bit of guided meditation to really sit with these words. And then we have, at the end of the time, about 8 to 10 minutes, where I'll invite everybody to turn off their cameras, where you will get to respond in your own way, to pray in your own way, in your own space. And you can do that through writing, through singing, through playing an instrument, through drawing or painting, through dancing, through just talking out loud, through just sitting, whatever you need, whatever your prayer is in that moment. It's a really safe container to play around with these different ideas of prayer, and all are welcome. And Krisha, do you have the link? If not, I'll put it up to sign up for the Thursday sessions. I'll grab it super quickly. And then also that this is the first time we've done something like this. I'm really hoping, here I got it. I'm really hoping that we will be able to offer more teachings and learnings, and we want to know what you thought. And yes, thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you so much, everybody. If we could end with another deep breath, because that's just how I like to end things. Taking a deep breath. With all of our lev, our mind and our heart, our feelings and our thoughts, with all of our nefesh, our body and our soul, all that we are and even more so, and all of our me'od, our resources, our extraness, our very self. May we go out into the rest of our lives today feeling a little bit fuller in all of those areas. And I hope that this session shined a little more light on this today, and hope to see you tomorrow or next Wednesday. Oh, Evelyn, you're so smart. Thank you for asking. I will find that for you. No donations are not necessary, just if you would like. I will send this right now. We're using this different thing for donations. Link. Copy link. All tax deductible, going towards being able to offer classes. We'll be doing more experiments over the course of the year, and then hopefully offering more regular things starting next fall. And if you haven't listened to Rabbi Kimelman's episode on the podcast, I would invite you to do that. And I will find that link also now. Also, tomorrow, I'm doing a lot of talking. Tomorrow, our new episode of the podcast features Evelyn Goldfinger, who is right in this session right now, who made a beautiful children's siddur that I have right next to me. It's an interactive siddur for kids, but also for everybody. It's pretty great. I'm really excited for y'all to hear that episode. But Yeah, thanks everybody. I'm not really sure how to end these, so you can unmute and say hi. You can say hi to each other. Really grateful that y'all came to this experiment in the Light Lab today.
Alana, will
Hi,
you
Ellen. Say that again, Ariella.
will you send us the chat so that we can have all that information?
Yes, and if not in the chat, then we'll send it as a follow-up email.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. And it's not too late if you have friends who you think would like this class, they can sign up now and come next week as well. We'll have it for them. I don't know why. A lot of weird wiggly noises. Anyway. Thanks, everybody.
And Evelyn, how can we get the book?
Ooh, put that link in the chat, Evelyn. Why not? And
Thank you.
we'll share
That's
it.
so kind. And for Mariana, it's not Portuguese, but it's going to be in Spanish, available soon. Hopefully one day Portuguese.
Yes.
I know. Yes, I hope also this.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Damien. Thank you, Leah. Always so great to learn together. And Joy, and Ariella. Yes.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you all so much.
And may I add that I can absolutely see in your teachings, Eliana, and in your podcast, beautiful, wonderful podcast that you do with Ellen, who was right here. Part of the rabbi's teachings, like how you go to the other sources and how you play with sounds, and I'm sure that evolved, but I can see like there's a hint there
Oh, yeah.
of that journey. So it's fascinating to, oh wait, maybe this is where it started, or it contributed to the start of all these, and it's just mind-blowing. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing this.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all. Hope to see you tomorrow evening and or next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye. Thanks, Damien. All right. I'm going to end the meeting. Actually, wait, I'm going to